A thin wash of pale morning light seeped through the narrow slits of the crew quarters. The metal walls of Evangelina creaked softly as the ship warmed, the sound almost like a slow exhale after a long night. Trevor sat on his bunk with his back against the wall, knees drawn up, hands resting loosely in his lap. He had slept, not deeply, not peacefully, but enough that the trembling in his hands had faded to a faint memory. His eyes were open, unfocused, fixed on nothing in particular. Sleep had come to him like a borrowed coat, warm enough to keep the cold out, but not his. Not really. The quiet inside him wasn't his either. It belonged to someone else. A faint pulse stirred in his chest. Not a voice, not a thought, just presence. Daniel. Trevor closed his eyes for a moment, breathing slowly.
"I know you're there."
A small, warm flicker answered. Not fearful, not hiding, just awake. Trevor opened his eyes again. He looked down at his hands. They were steady now, but they didn't feel like his. Not entirely. He rubbed his thumb across the inside of his palm, as if trying to remember what it felt like to be alone in his own skin. Footsteps echoed faintly in the corridor outside. Cullen's voice, Pamela's laugh, the low hum of Evangelina's systems coming online. Trevor pushed himself to his feet, not because he felt ready, but because the day was moving, and he had to move with it. He took a step toward the door and stopped. A whisper rose in his memory, soft as breath.
"When the moment comes, you will know what to do."
Trevor stood still, the words settling over him like a shadow.
"I hope you're right."
He opened the door. Light spilled into the room, and Daniel pulsed once, warm, steady, almost encouraging. He stepped out into the corridor. The fog had thinned since dawn, but the air still carried a damp chill that clung to metal and skin alike. Evangelina sat on the landing pad with her engines in low idle, a soft vibration running through the ground beneath her. Cullen stood near the cargo ramp with a data pad in hand, tapping through the pre-flight checklist. Pamela moved between crates with brisk efficiency, securing straps and locking clamps with sharp metallic clicks. Ben lingered a few meters away, arms folded, eyes scanning the perimeter with the quiet vigilance of someone who trusted his instincts more than any sensor. Trevor approached from the crew quarters, shoulders slightly hunched, steps measured. He looked composed. Too composed. "Morning, Harry." Trevor nodded, forcing a small smile.
"Morning."
Pamela glanced over her shoulder, studying him for a beat longer than necessary.
"You sleep at all?"
Trevor hesitated, just long enough for the lie to feel thin.
"Yeah, better than before."
Pamela didn't look convinced, but she let it go. Cullen finally looked up from the datapad, eyes narrowing slightly as he took in Trevor's posture. Calm, steady, but distant, like someone listening to a conversation no one else could hear.
"We're almost ready to lift. Just need to finish the fuel check and get the last of the cargo secured."
Trevor nodded again, but his gaze drifted past Cullen, past Pamela, past the ship, toward the tree line where the Oracle's cabin lay hidden. Inside him, Daniel pulsed once, a soft, warm echo. Not a warning, not fear, just presence. Ben noticed the flicker in Trevor's expression, the way his eyes unfocused for half a second, the way his breath caught before he forced it steady again. Ben stepped closer.
"You all right?"
Trevor blinked, pulling himself back into the moment.
"Just tired."
Ben studied him, not suspicious, not hostile, but analytical, like someone cataloging a detail for later.
"Long night?"
Something like that.
Cullen clapped his hands once, breaking the tension.
All right, people, let's get this done. I want us off this rock before the handler decides he wants a tour of the ship.
Pamela snorted.
He's been twitchier than usual. I don't like it.
Trevor stiffened at the mention of the handler. Daniel recoiled. A faint, instinctive flinch. Ben noticed that too. Cullen didn't.
Harry, can you double-check the aft stabilizers? They were acting up yesterday.
Trevor nodded automatically.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
He turned toward the ship, but paused when he felt Daniel pulse again. A soft, uncertain flicker. Trevor whispered under his breath, barely audible.
It's okay. I've got this.
He stepped onto the ramp and disappeared inside Evangelina. Ben watched him go, jaw tightening slightly.
Something's definitely off.
Cullen didn't hear him. Pamela didn't hear him. But the fog did. And the forest. And whatever waited beyond both. The upper levels of Outpost 12 were a lattice of rusted catwalks and reinforced platforms, suspended above the landing area like a web of steel. From up here, the fog looked thinner, stretched into long, pale ribbons drifting between the structures. The handler stood at the railing, hands clasped behind his back, posture perfectly still. He didn't lean. He didn't shift his weight. He simply stood, as if the metal beneath him were an extension of his own spine. Below, Evangelina's crew moved through their pre-flight routine. Cullen checking fuel lines, Pamela securing cargo, Ben scanning the perimeter, Trevor disappearing into the ship. The handler watched them with the calm, detached focus of someone assembling a puzzle in his mind. He didn't need binoculars. He didn't need sensors. Men like him read people the way others read weather, by the tilt of a shoulder, the rhythm of a breath, the silence between movements. His gaze tracked Trevor for a moment longer than the others. Trevor's steps were steady, his posture controlled, his face unreadable. But something in the way he moved, a slight hesitation, a flicker of inward focus, made the handler's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly.
Something's changed.
He shifted his attention to Cullen and Pamela, noting their tension, the way they hovered closer to Trevor than usual. Protective, guarded. Then to Ben, the quiet one, the observer. Ben's eyes were sharp, too sharp for a simple deckhand. The handler filed that away. A faint breeze stirred the fog. The handler didn't react. He simply continued watching, cataloging, assembling. He didn't know what Evangelina was hiding. Not yet. But he could feel it. A pressure beneath the surface, a wrongness in the rhythm of the crew. Something out of place. Something they were trying very hard not to show. He lifted a small comm device to his lips, speaking without taking his eyes off the landing pad.
Prepare a channel.
A crackle of static answered. A voice on the other end, distant and deferential.
Ready.
The handler's gaze followed Trevor as he stepped into the ship.
I'll have a report soon.
He lowered the device, clasped his hands behind his back again, and continued watching. Silent. Patient. Certain. He didn't know what he was looking for, but he knew he would find it. The handler's quarters were small, austere, and meticulously ordered. A metal desk, a cot, a wall-mounted terminal humming with a low, steady vibration. No personal items, no softness, nothing that didn't serve a purpose. The handler closed the door behind him with a soft click and crossed the room with measured steps. He activated the terminal with a touch. The screen flickered once, then resolved into a secure communication interface. A faint chime. A connection request. Then a voice. Filtered. Calm. Authoritative.
Carl, report.
The handler stood perfectly straight.
Evangelina's crew is preparing to depart. They're tense, guarded. Something has changed since they arrived.
Define changed.
One of the crew, Harry, he's different, focused inward, distracted, like he's carrying something.
Contraband?
Not the usual kind.
The handler's eyes flicked toward the window, toward the landing pad where Evangelina sat in the thinning fog.
They're hiding something. And they're scared. That combination usually means someone else is involved.
Someone else?
The syndicate.
A longer pause this time. The kind that meant calculation.
You believe they're moving something through your outpost?
I believe they're trying to. And Evangelina is the only ship here that fits the pattern.
Your recommendation?
Titan surveillance. Quietly. If the syndicate is testing our borders, I want to know before they make their move.
Understood. Do not confront the crew. Not yet.
I won't.
The connection cut with a soft click. The screen went dark. The handler stood in the silence for a moment, the hum of the terminal fading into the background. He didn't know what Evangelina was carrying, but he knew this. If the syndicate wanted it, he wanted it first. He turned toward the door, expression unreadable.
Let's see what you're hiding.